The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I wasn't talking. You didn't miss anything. It's not 3:30 yet, so I was just looking at some things. That's all. Um, Trying to decide if I want to do this test on minutes or ticks. Everything I do with this strategy has been on ticks. So I think I'm going to keep a consistent. I think I'm going to do this particular test on ticks. I just, for people that were interested enough to come here, let me wait until 3:30 or so. Let people get a chance to get here. I wouldn't trade until probably 2:30 in the afternoon. And you could see there were a couple of nice signals. Had a pretty good signal at about 250. Nice short. Been using this DMI. The DMI is free, and it's just part of Ninja. So you just install it, DMI, just like any indicator. And then put a line. I don't know why my line doesn't stay at 0, but it should. But it doesn't. I don't know why. I put a horizontal line at 0. At least I try to. But I guess my question is, why doesn't it stay? Somebody out there must know a little bit more about Ninja than I do. And then I want to put it right at 0. So you go to data and make the y-axis 0. The line never stays. Chantal, you can't get it to stay either. The other indicator I've been using is the R squeeze set to 10. We're finding that a period of 10 on the R squeeze is pretty interesting. It's a really nice momentum indicator. But it's not going to have a factor with news. Indicators have they really aren't an issue with news. And that's because the idea of news or earnings is that, you expect a very fast move. So, and James, do not do this live because this is completely untested. James V, I'm talking to you. All right? I don't want you to trade this. We're really just testing this. This is earnings testing. The last time there even were earnings was 3 months ago. And I want to go over all the problems and let people understand why it's difficult to do, if it can even be done. I don't know. I originally was unbelievably optimistic about it, but because the companies are so difficult about when they're going to release their earnings, some companies seem to release their earnings very often at the same time. Like, for instance, today, Google, we went back and looked at some of their previous releases, of course, and a lot of their releases are at 401. But sometimes even a company like Amazon, they'll do 401, 402, 403. So you don't have definitive regulated news release times like you do with news. And that's a big issue. What that means is you got to find a way to be safe, right? You have to find a way to be safe. So if you put the trade on a little bit early and the news is delayed, that you don't get pulled into a trade in the wrong direction before the news is even released. That's just as bad as, getting into a news report early. It's really not helpful at all. Okay. So right now, the way that I'm dealing with that is I'm setting up the strategy with Google where the ticks above and below the range are 12 ticks. That means the market's got to move 3 points. That's 3 points of the NQ. So what we're looking for is you have to have your news on in the background. And I was going to cancel this room. I'll tell you why. And this just sort of brings up the problems. And Brian, you'll kind of appreciate this, but you go to Earnings Whisper, right? People say, where do I go to get news? Go to Earnings Whispers. Oh, they changed it. Okay. This morning, Google was at 425, but it changed. Okay. I had sorted all the news by time before the market opened, after the market opened, and Google was 425. No, it was 435, and it still is. So which is right? Why is one 435 and one is one Alphabet and one Google? Is that possible? That makes it even more risky. Okay? That's kind of what it seems like it is. So Google may not be workable at all. All right? But a lot of the things we'll talk about might make sense. And forgive me for having the news on loud in the background. So it is Alphabet. It's not Google. So if they don't come out at 4, I'm not going to stick around. Hey, Sylvia, nice to see you in the room. Thanks for joining up. So I don't want people to get upset with me or angry at me or whatever. I'm doing this as extra stuff. You understand that, right? When I looked at it this morning and when I set up this trade room, there was Alphabet and Google were on different days. Okay. They were scheduled on different days. Now it looks like they're both today. And Alphabet is first at 4 o'clock. Alphabet became like the umbrella company under which these other companies function. And I'm not sure that Alphabet will move the market quite as much as Google will, or if it's, I don't even know. So we'll just use the rules that I set up and we'll see if it works. That's how we'll do it. So let me show you how I'm trying to stay safe with the one-click range trade when I don't really know what's going on, because that's the situation. We don't really know what's going on. Am I going to trade it live today when I have no idea what's going on? Of course not. The time to trade it live was, an hour ago when you had some great signals. I'll show you. But so if you're a user of the one-click range trade and you want to test trade along, make your ticks above the range 12 and below the range 12. Make your look back 5. Okay. That's how many bars it looks back to create the range. Make sure you're on one-click range trade. Okay. And then I like to use 3 positions. It is risky because with Google, I felt I could get away with a 15 tick stop. With Amazon, you can't. Steve, most trade the alphabet or most trade the Goog? Yeah, I think the Goog also. But that's a little bit upsetting because I was going to change the time of the trade room to 4:30 or to 4. But it still makes a good point. Look, let's finish how I'd set up the strategy. It's not going to make any difference. I'm using, and I will work on less risk. This is 3 contracts. 20 tick profit. You know what? I'm going to go for a little bit smaller profit. 15 tick profit. And if my profit gets hit, my stop's going to move to break even plus 10, but I'm going to start trailing. Let me just think for a second because having trailing on, I think I have to talk to the programmer because something doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to have the trailing on. Let's see if we can figure out exactly when it starts trailing. It should be before the target is hit. Although I don't think that's the case. I'll tell you why. I think that's for single contract trailing. That's what I think that is. Because you can't use single contract trailing when the target's hit. You'll be taken out of the trade. So let's start it at the target hit, which is perfectly fine. Bear with me. My daughter got hurt playing soccer, and she's texting me. I'll tell her I'm in the room. Okay. Um, so let's go over the setup. So you're protecting yourself by having a 3 point ticks above the range, ticks below the range. All right. And we're going to see what happens. If Alphabet doesn't move the market, then we just cancel the trade. And I mean, if people are really motivated, you can't trade Google at 435. See, one of the things you have to understand about the markets. So I don't think 435, Steve, is the right time, right? Because at 415, well, no, you can. The market reopens at 430. Here's the Nasdaq. At 415 it closes till 430. Don't forget that. You don't want to get stuck in a trade. So if you get close to 410, they also raise the margins. Okay? I believe they raised the margins at 4 o'clock. So you got to be very careful with this stuff. But the market reopens again at 4:30. I don't know why, but for half an hour. So if Google has earnings at 4:35, you can trade that, but make sure you're not in a trade at 5 o'clock because then the market closes from 5 to 6, and then you have the daily open, the Globex open. Okay, everybody understand that? So I'm protecting myself. My look back is 5, not very big. It's only 5 bars. But my ticks above and below the range is much bigger than we ever do. It's 3 points. 12 ticks, 4 ticks a point. Okay, with the Nasdaq. I'm looking for a 15 tick profit just on one target. And if I hit that target, I'll have a position left because I'm doing 2 contracts for 15 ticks. I'll have one position left that will trail, and that trail will start at target hit. And if I hit the target, my stop will get moved to break even plus 10 ticks. So I don't want to lose money if I'm right and I get the direction right and everything works right. And you can pull it off. You don't want to lose money. Okay. I'm just using my left side for trading. My right, I'm not using anything on the right today. Okay, not using signals. You understand that these are two separate setups for the one-click range trade, and we have a third using Unirenkos. James, I'll check that. It shouldn't be. James, what is up? Let's check that. That should be 618. Thanks for pointing that out, James. Let's see, make sure that this is set up right. Now it should. Let's see what's going on here. That's a good question, James. Why is it doing that to me? It shouldn't be 318. Give me a second. And that's why I got here early in case we had any problems. It's fixed, okay? Refresh the charts, do whatever you got to do, but wait a minute. I could have sworn it was just that is so strange. I may have to reset up the strategy, but we got 15 minutes. That's why Charles Schwab is proud to support more independent financial advisors and their clients than anyone else. Visit findyourindependentadvisor.com. I do not know why it's doing that. Very strange. Okay. What I do to save time, so let's say you're working on something and you need to save time. Always, if you're working on the same thing, right-click all your values and set them as defaults so that if things get screwed up like they just did, I barely have to enter anything again. Everything is still the way it was. So my ticks above and below the range are 12, one-click range trade, strategy internal. Thank you so much, James, for pointing that out. Your input series is important. If it's on the wrong series, you won't see your trade, okay? 2 positions for 15 ticks, 1 position for no ticks. It'll be above 15. I'm going to trail, okay? I'm starting my trailing at target hit, okay? If your software doesn't support that, you let me know and I'll send you the newest software, okay? And if my first target is hit, my stop's going to move to break even plus 10, and my stop is 15 ticks, okay? I can enable everything. It's not going to start the trade like it does in a news trade. It's just going to start the range a drawing, okay? That's all it's going to do. Remember, the trade doesn't start until you click one-click range entry twice, okay? Twice, because Ninja makes you press buttons twice. I don't know why. If you're going to do this, if you're interested in trying to experiment with earnings, make sure that you have the news on. Put your TV news on, put your best squawk on if you have a squawk. Make sure you know when the earnings are released, so at least you can never catch the earnings if you wait for the TV, right, to give you those earnings. It's almost impossible. You'll be late, right? You'll be very late to the party. But if it's a humongous move, sometimes, I shouldn't say this, but in a humongous move, sometimes you can chase earnings and make a few bucks. But we're trying to avoid that. That's not what we want to do here. We want to try and do enough research so we know that this particular We're hoping that we have the right Google and that we could put the trade on at about 401. If I hear on TV that very soon after that they still haven't released earnings, then I'll cancel the trade and I'll wait. Because we're here for something very specific. I'm not here to trade setups. The market's almost closed. Okay. Hang on, I'm listening to the radio about, I mean, TV, they're talking about Trump flying to Russia or something. I don't know. Anyway, does anybody have any questions? Any quick questions? Chantal, can you check your platform to see if it looks like it's Google that's trading at 401 or does it look like it's Alphabet? Anyway, so does everybody understand the concept here? The look back is wrong. Do you know why? Look why the look back is wrong. Because I'm on minutes on one chart and ticks on the other. You need to be on the same on both. The same on both. Ticks on both, because that's what I said I was doing, not minutes. Okay? Now it's correct. See, I noticed it was way too big. So forgive me for coming in and out and listening, not listening, but I'm trying to pay attention to what they're saying in the news to see if the earnings are actually coming out. If they're not coming out, then we won't have a trade. We won't even have a test. Let me show you why trading earnings is a challenge also. So you can check Earnings Whisper. It's a nice website. You open it up and go to calendar, and then go to sort, put it on list view, all earnings, after market close, before market open, do all, sort by time, put it back on all, and then you can scroll down. Twitter came out this morning, I thought, or it's one morning this week. It might be tomorrow. But unfortunately, it's at 7 in the morning. I would think Twitter might move the market. It looks like Alphabet's right at 4. So this kind of throws a monkey wrench into our whole test here, but it's okay. So these are some of the tools you use, though. Earningswhisper.com to try and figure out when the earnings are coming out. The other thing I use, it's a very good website. If you just go to Google and type in Google previous earnings, the Street Insider has a great website. Street Insider, if it'll open, and it lists all the dates of the previous earnings, and then you can click the details. Click the details, and look what comes up. February 1st and the time of the earnings, 4:04, and the earning report. Okay? Whether Chantal and I are kind of arguing about whether that's the right time, and we're not sure. It's really hard to find the times. Yeah, Chantal, that might be the earnings, the conference. That might be the conference. So let me see how foolish I was today. And let's look up Google next earnings. 423. Okay. GOOG. That's not the same as Alphabet. It's just not. Maybe they are together. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. I thought they did earnings separately. It doesn't matter. We're here to do the same exact test. Okay? And we're going to test it exactly like I showed. I think because they're saying 4 o'clock, Chantal, what do you think? We should put our trade on at 3:59:57. And the only reason I bring Chantal's name up is because we did a lot of testing together today, and we always do a lot of testing together. Oh, Goog L and Goog are the symbols, and we think they're both at the same time. You think they're at 401. I'm going to try and put the trade on at 4, and I'm going to try and survive it. Okay? And that's the problem with doing earnings. Because look, I put the trade on right now for fun. Right now, I'm pretty far away from the NASDAQ, but in half a second, it could fill me before the earnings come out. You follow me? So it's a big issue. It's a big issue. Chantal thinks if we put it on at the way we did previously, 40057, it's good. What I'm worried about is that we're going to miss the earnings if they come out a minute early. If they come out a minute early, there's not going to be a darn thing we can do about it because it might be too unsafe to put that trade on a minute early. That's the truth. These are the challenges. And Chantal makes a great point. We have to avoid the close when we do this. We don't want to be trading the close. And the close is at 4. So I believe they're going to release it at 401, not at 4. Okay? Because they're not going to release it at the moment of the close. They just don't do that. It's just not company policy to do that normally. I don't think. I don't think I've ever seen it in my 6 weeks of trading earnings. No, I'm kidding. But I think you all understand. Right now, we're just watching the close. Okay? And I personally think the NASDAQ is tradable on many of the closes. Today was a choppy day. So they said. Okay? I don't know if anybody was trading, doing any one-click testing or trading today. There was some signals. This is not my exact normal chart. I'll tell you what's different about it. I'm using the moving averages instead of the Belkiat, but it's okay. It works exactly the same way. In other words, I'm using the JOBB moving averages, the 20 and the 13. They're on the screen, but we're not going to be using them for the trade, so it doesn't matter today. See, there was a very nice little short signal. All of our rules, all of our entry rules worked. If you would have been really patient and just not worried about anything and just waited for a nice slope on the Williams, the DMI nicely below 0, and all of the moving averages to be sloping down, even without the range, you had an entry on this candle to go short. You had great signs to go short there. They really were good signals. They're talking Alphabet. So see, if we get Google and Alphabet, the move could be way bigger than we think. And I would think that they could differ, right? Are they always the same? Are there any earnings experts out there? Anybody who's traded Google and Google on a regular basis, are they always the same? Do they always differ? Anybody had any experience with it? Maybe I should have picked Amazon, is what I'm saying, for the test. Maybe we'll do that too later in the week. I don't mind putting in time if people come to the room. So we're going to take a shot at 401.57. We're going to put our trade on. Normally, let's check our time, just like a real trade. Time.is. Time.is. Not time.is.com. Time.is. You want to be exact. Okay? And I believe you have to refresh earnings whispers that they don't automatically give you Google's earnings. Unfortunately. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure. Brian, you have any experience with that? 40057. I meant 40057, not 401.57. 1600.57. It's pretty volatile. See, this is the danger. And that's why I'm testing. It may not be worthwhile or viable to do earnings, except maybe with one or two stocks. That's the truth. With this particular setup, that's all. I was just hoping for a bonus. I was hoping earnings might be a bonus. Right now, we're seeing closing volatility. That's what you're getting. It should immediately calm down at 15 seconds after that. That's the close. Okay? And boom. See it calm down already? No, maybe not. Now, what I don't know for sure is if I'm going to get pulled in on the wrong side, miss the earnings. I don't know. And that's why I'm not willing to throw real money at it today. I haven't done this enough. You know me, I'm really conservative and really careful. I'll put the trade on at 400.57 and I'll try and listen for those earnings. Okay? Maybe our brackets need to be bigger. Okay? Here's the time. There's a bit of space. We've got some room. So now the question is, I don't want to get filled, okay, until I'm sure those earnings are out. I'd rather miss it. Or do you take the shot, thinking that the market knows before it's announced what the earnings are, right? They could be out, and we don't know it yet. The market might not know it yet. If somebody had a great stock trading platform, I used to do this with TradeStation. You knew when those earnings, they're out. They're out. You could tell they were out. May not work. It might stop us out. It is going to stop us out. But the numbers are out. You could tell it exploded to the upside. Something came out, right? I hear him talking about the earnings. They're out. So now, there we go. All right. All right. Good test, folks. Very good little test. And now you might have more to go. Maybe my target was two. Had I known both of them were trading, I might have made my target bigger. But why? You see how that worked? I think that was really interesting. So, and of course you got signals, but your signals are too fast to follow with that kind of news. That's why we don't trade this on fast news. But you still have a signal to go long, right? Are you late to the party? Do you want to give it all back? You don't want to go long now because you have to change the size of your orders, right? Your orders are too far apart. You don't want to go long here. You can't scalp here because you have to change the size of your brackets. You can. Keep in mind also this market closes at 4:15. If I'm going to scalp, now the earnings are out. It's scalping time, right? So you don't want your brackets 3 points. You want them 3 ticks above and below the range. You want to go back to normalcy, back to normal, probably with a little bit bigger. I'd even probably go for a little bit bigger look back. Let's leave it at 5 because we've never done it. 5 is okay. But I think you're following me. I hope everybody's understanding what I'm doing. Okay. And it's a big if I made 220 bucks in 10 seconds on an earnings report, I would probably be done. Okay. I would probably be done. But now, if you're going to scalp, you want to use your signals. And all the signals are long, so you got to let it chill out for a bit. You have to let this chill out. You don't want to just go long after that move, right? You got to figure you're going to get a little bit of a retrace. And also, you have the super trend. Price might pop through it. You want to be really careful here. I don't think you want to rush. I think you want to take your time. Okay. But I think we had a fantastic test. I think we should do this again. And then I don't care if we're not ready to do this until next quarter. It's okay. It doesn't make us stupid. It's new. We just released this last quarter. That's when this software, and we've been working really hard to work on different setups to get the setups really safe. So, yes, in retrospect, this would look like an amazing setup. But in retrospect, if you knew there were earnings, you saw if it wasn't set up automatically, you could not have gotten into that trade. And that's the great thing that our software does. But there are critical issues you have to know about. Do you know when the earnings are? Are there other huge companies doing earnings at the same exact time? If Amazon was 2 minutes later, you got to be out of that trade in 2 minutes. Okay? Probably Facebook, probably Microsoft, maybe Intel. You know the big ones. I don't know about IBM, but you understand what I'm saying. This is why I didn't want to just jump into another long. It's a signal to go short through a super trend price level. So I wouldn't go long here. Even though Williams is fanatically long, I don't want to be late to the party. I already had the party. I had a party. I made 220 in the party. James, I think there's a way you could do it with two. Do it with two. It'll just be a little bit less profit, James. You don't have to use 3 contracts. You could do the exact same trade with two. And you could go for smaller targets and get out quicker. Okay? Folks, you see why I didn't rush into another trade? Anyway, questions? The test worked, and that's what I was here for. That was the test. Do people want to do this again this week? Do you want to do this again? Because I'd like to do it on Amazon. But see how strong a signal that is? Bursting through a line. It would have hit our first target. And that's why, as tempted as I was to chase that long, I controlled myself. Amazon, Irene, is, I think it's Wednesday. I know it's after 4. Maybe it's Thursday because it's not showing up. Let's check. You know what? Why waste the time, Irene? Let's just Google it. Let's just Google it. 26th, Thursday. Thursday. Okay. Similar to this. Amazon does like 402. So you check. So you find out when Amazon's out, right? So it's Thursday. So you have to check if it's going to be a possibility. How do you know? Check the date in Earnings Whisper. Do the sort. Sort by time. Put it on all. And then check and see what's being released around when Amazon earnings are being released. Anything that could dramatically affect it to the negative side. $4.05. Now, Amazon is explosive. Amazon is at 4, so we would do the same thing. Facebook is Wednesday also. I think you have 5 minutes. 5 minutes is enough. We were out of that trade in 2. Okay? So you just have to remember, you don't want to be in the trade. I don't think Facebook is the same day as Amazon, but I thought something was. But you just got to make sure you check really carefully that you have, 5 to 7 minutes between major companies. Okay? Looks like Amazon is doable. Now, Amazon really explodes, right? It moves a lot because it just does. If you look at the way Amazon moves. So you have to make your stop maybe 5 ticks bigger. But it looks like between 4 and 405. Figure it'll come out at 401. So you got to get out of Amazon. Looks like we'll have enough time to get out before anything else is coming. I don't see anything else that's going to matter. Microsoft is late though. It's 4:15. Market's closed. So we can't trade that one, even if we wanted to. Okay? You'd have to deal with that at 4:30. That, it's a big reason to be careful at 4:30. Okay? Amazon looks doable. Intel is 405. That's what I remembered. Intel could move the market. My gut feeling is Amazon's going to overtake everything. There will be a trade. Very similar to this. The change I would make, I'd have a slightly bigger stop, probably at least 20, and ticks above and below the range. 12 seemed to work when I tested Amazon before. 12 seems to be safe. It worked for Google. It kept us safe. Maybe we'll have a quick room for Amazon, okay? On Thursday if I can do it. And don't forget we have a scalping room with Steven, who's one of the co-designers of this trade, Wednesday before the oil trade, for the oil news. All right. I'm looking to see if Google earnings were updated. No, I changed it. I touched it. Does anybody have any questions? That was interesting, wasn't it? That was interesting. So I'll see everybody tonight. Let me throw up the quick invite for tonight's trade. This is a risky trade tonight. Probably just throw one contract. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad it worked. But you could see why it's a little bit scary with earnings because they're just not the release time of earnings is not regulated like the release time of news. That's the big issue. Okay. All right, folks. I'll make a video. I'll probably send it to everybody that came into the room at some point. All right. Facebook is Wednesday. Okay. I think Facebook, I think we looked up Facebook. It didn't do well on earnings, but still might be worth looking at. But I'll probably just do Amazon because it's going to move the market. We just know it. You just know it. It's going to have a chance to explode. So we'll see if our system could handle it. Okay, folks. I'll see everybody later. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Take care.